25 years earlier, Kazunori Yamauchi, Takahiro Hira, harbored a vision to develop a driving simulator that would democratize the world of racing. This vision would later materialize as Gran Turismo. In Cardiff, Wales, Jann Martinborough, Archie Maidque, is an ardent enthusiast of Gran Turismo video games and has diligently saved up to acquire a simulator. He resides with his parents, Steve, Jimin Hunsu, and Leslie, Jerry Halliwell Horner, alongside his brother Kobe, Daniel Puig. Jann sustains himself by working at a clothing store. However, Steve, a former footballer, remains unconvinced and unsupportive of Jann's aspirations to become a professional racer, deeming it unrealistic and perilous. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Danny Moore, Orlando Bloom, a marketing executive at Nissan, arrives at a conference with a groundbreaking proposal. He pitches an idea to potential investors, proposing a contest for Gran Turismo players, granting them an opportunity to transition from virtual to real-world racing for Nissan, potentially boosting car sales. Upon receiving approval for the contest, Danny embarks on a quest to enlist mentors for the aspiring racers. Rejection greets him at every turn until he encounters his last resort, former racer Jack Salter, David Harbour, now working as a mechanic. Danny presents his concept to Jack, who initially rebuffs it, voicing concerns about the potential life-threatening consequences of placing gamers in real race cars. However, after a tense encounter with hot-headed up-and-coming racer Nicky Kappa, Josh Stradowski, Jack has a change of heart, realizing the merit in Danny's proposition. Jann's world takes an unexpected turn when he receives a message inviting him to participate in a simulated race, following an outstanding performance in Gran Turismo at a gamer cafe. A video from Danny unveils the opportunity for top racers to join the newly established GT Academy, with a chance to pursue real racing dreams. Kobe informs Jann of an outdoor gathering with friends, including Jann's crush, Audrey, Maeve Cordier-Lilly. At first reluctant, Jann decides to attend, striking up a conversation with Audrey, who expresses her desire to travel the world. The gathering is disrupted by the arrival of the police, forcing the teenagers to disperse. On their way back in Steve's car, a friend of Jann and Kobe's attempts to procure beer from a neighboring vehicle, resulting in a minor collision, drawing the attention of the authorities. Jann accelerates away, leading to a brief police pursuit. Though he evades capture, both he and Kobe return home to find a disapproving Steve. Jann accepts responsibility for the damaged mirror. In a rush, Jann is summoned to assist Steve at a rail yard just moments before the simulated race is set to commence. Despite the time constraints, Jann pedals his bike to the cafe and arrives in the nick of time to register. Leveraging his skills developed from playing at home, he overtakes fellow players and clinches first place, securing his entry into the academy. Despite Steve's repeated warnings about the dangers, Jann resolutely reaffirms his determination to prove his detractors wrong, reminding Steve that it was he who instilled in him a love for driving from a young age. Jann's arrival at the GT Academy was accompanied by 9 other potential racers, one of them being the confident Matty Davis, played by Darren Barnett. Jack, still skeptical about the whole endeavor, delivered a far from inspiring speech. The group then commenced rigorous driving exercises and physical training. Unfortunately, 4 racers got disqualified, and Jann found himself on the brink of elimination. During a driving session with Jack, Jann accidentally crashed, despite insisting he had applied the brakes. Later, Jack discovered that the brakes were indeed faulty and informed Jann of another racer's elimination, granting him a spot in the final race. Jann's jubilant shout filled the air. Preparations were made for the qualifying race, where Jann paid tribute to his father by placing a sticker of his father's favorite football team on his helmet. Although he started at the back of the pack, Jann quickly maneuvered his way to the front. In a thrilling race against Matty, who was in the lead, Jann utilized tactics learned from video games to edge alongside him, resulting in a nail-biting finish. Danny initially thought Matty had won, but a video replay confirmed that Jann had won by a hair's breadth. Jann's journey to bigger races began, and he received congratulations from his fellow racers, including Matty. Accompanied by Jack and Danny, Jann embarked on a journey to Austria for races to qualify for an FIA license. Starting from the very last position, Jann gradually moved up through the ranks, except for one race where Nicky bumped his car off course, preventing him from finishing. With one more race to go in Dubai, Jack set the condition that Jann needed to finish at least 4th to secure his license. In a tense race, Jann managed to overtake Nicky, prompting the antagonistic driver to push his speed too far and collide with another car. A tire from Nicky's car flew towards Jann's windshield but luckily didn't cause enough damage to stop him from finishing fourth and obtaining his license. Eager to share his success, Jann reached out to Audrey and invited her to Tokyo to witness his official signing with Nissan. Their day together culminated in a dance club where they shared their first kiss. Jann subsequently headed to the Nürburgring track in Germany for another race, watched by Steve and Leslie from home. On the 6th lap, Jann managed to secure second place, but an overly ambitious maneuver caused his car to flip and result in a harrowing crash. His parents were filled with dread as they witnessed the incident on TV, and Jann was rushed to the hospital with Jack at his side. Upon regaining consciousness, Jann received the grim news from Danny and Jack. A spectator had tragically lost their life in the crash, but they assured Jann that it wasn't his fault. Overwhelmed by guilt, Jann broke down and requested solitude, unable to face his parents and blaming himself for the tragedy. Once Jann had fully recovered, Jack took him to the location of his crash and revealed what had ended his own racing career. Jack had been driving at the Le Mans track and was involved in a fatal accident that took another racer's life. Jack quit racing after that and lived with the regret of not realizing his full potential. He implored Jann not to let the same fate befall him, allowing Jann to take the wheel to finish his lap. Jann and Jack rendezvous with Danny, who shares a concerning update about how rival racing teams are actively trying to eliminate sim racers from competition by building cases against them. Undeterred, they remain resolute in their determination to participate in the 24-hour race at Le Mans with their Nismo team, joined by Matty and fellow GT Academy driver, Antonio Cruz, also known as Pepe Barroso. Upon arriving at Le Mans, Jann finds a supportive gathering, including his family, Audrey, and other GT Academy drivers. Steve makes amends with Jann for not providing the support he needed earlier. As the race kicks off, Jann, Matty, and Antonio take turns behind the wheel. A rival driver experiences a harrowing fiery crash but thankfully escapes unharmed. When it's Jann's turn to drive, his thoughts become consumed by the incident, causing him to lose focus. Jack comes to the rescue by playing calming tunes from Kenny G and Enya, helping Jann regain his composure. In the final hour and lap of the race, Jann executes a remarkable comeback, dueling fiercely with Nicky. Drawing inspiration from his gaming experience on the Le Mans track and his unique driving style, Jann catches up to Nicky. In a thrilling neck-and-neck race to the finish line, Jann emerges victorious. The entire team and his family rush to the podium to celebrate, while Nicky and his team gracefully accept their defeat. The concluding narrative text highlights the historic impact of Jann Mardenborough and Team Nissan's victory at Le Mans, forever altering the landscape of motorsports. To this day, Jann has competed in more than 200 races, and he even had the opportunity to serve as his own stunt double in the film. Side-by-side images showcase the real Jann and his family alongside their on-screen counterparts.
No.